everyone, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Misty Doan. Welcome back to my beautiful sewing room. I'm so excited to have you guys here. We're going to make a really great Valentine's project. Valentine's Day is kind of special at my house. We always have a fancy breakfast of stuffed French toast, so I thought it was time to make a new table topper to kick off the occasion. So you can see that right here. This is what we're going to be working on and making. It's inspired by this quilt that I made for our triple play. So this is the Hearts and Kisses quilt, and this is the Hearts and Kisses table topper. So it's just the X block and the heart block put together. You're just gonna need one charm pack, so let me show you how to do it. Okay, up first we're going to make this simple X block. So you're going to need 4 charm squares. For this fabric I'm using Flirt by Sweetwater for Moda, and I chose the black prints in the collection for my X blocks. So I've got a few of those ready to go here, set aside at my cutting table. And I've also gone ahead and I'm using, you'll notice in this project, I'm using all of the lights and the tone-on tones as the background. I haven't selected a separate background yardage. So I've gone ahead and pre-cut some of those 5-inch squares into 2.5-inch squares to make these X's. Okay, so we're going to take those 2.5-inch squares and we're going to put them on opposite corners. With this collection though, there are a couple of directional prints, so let me show you a little trick, because you can see here there's some cute words on this, and when I flip this back, I want to make sure that my words are the right direction. So if I have this, the right orientation when I'm looking at it, and I grab this opposite corner and just flip it like that, then I know when I press this back, my words are still going to be upright. So I'm going to leave this one just like so, and we're going to sew from this point to this point. And make sure that's lined up. And I'm using my diagonal seam tape. So I've got this first point on my needle and this other point right on the red line of that seam tape, so I know I'm sewing corner to corner, and we'll zip right across. There's that first one. Now with this print, it's not really directional, so I don't have to worry about what I did before. So I can just set that one on there, again making sure it's on the opposite side and lined up nice and straight, and sewing corner to corner. There we go. So now you can either use your rotary cutter or your scissors and just trim off the excess. If you're one that doesn't like a lot of waste, you can actually move over a 1/2 inch and you can save these little triangles for another project. But I'm just going to add them to my scrap bin for now. And then we can go ahead and press this back. So remember, we made sure our letters were going to be right sides up, and that is ready to go. So I've gone ahead and made the other 3 to complete our X. So you can see how this is going to come together just like that. And all of this is made by just putting those 2 corners on our 5-inch squares and then rotating the block to create the X. So let's go ahead and sew these together. I'm going to put these 2 and then these 2. There's the first one. Go ahead and sew this one as well. All right, now let's go ahead and press these. And then I'm going to press this one in the opposite direction so that center seam will nest together nicely. So now we're going to put these together just like so. And sew with a 1/4 inch right down this side. You still want to take your time and make sure things are lined up. Now that I've sewn a little bit, I'm going to make sure that center is nesting the way I like. You can feel it underneath your fingers. And then line up the end. There we go. And now our X block is done. We can just give that a press. You're going to make 2 of these for your table topper. So I'll add this one to the other one I already have ready, and we can move on to this heart block. It is made much the same way, but you can see we've got this kind of mountain peak block that goes into it and this half square triangle block. So let's start with the half square triangle. I'm just going to grab this piece here and this cute heart print, and we're going to lay these right sides together. Again, this heart is directional, so if I know that I want this to be, see, I've got one made, so this half is going to be the bottom of my heart. So then when I put this together, I want to make sure that when I flip this back, I'm happy. This all feels kind of sideways to me, so I'm going to rotate that one. Now that looks better. So you can just kind of play with it as you go, and I'm going to sew from this corner to this corner. You can draw a line if you want, press a line, or you can use your diagonal seam tape if you have a long enough marking to keep those points right down the middle. So we're sewing right down the center on this one. There we go. Now I'm just going to check and make sure I'm happy with that. That looks good. And again, this is a really big piece. So on the small ones, I mentioned that you could move over a 1/2 inch and save this piece. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to eyeball this. Give myself some room. And then I'll trim between those 2 stitch lines. And that way I've got another half square triangle that I can save for a project later. Here's our bonus one, already stitched together. We can square that up. And this one is for our project. So let's go ahead and press it. And you're going to make 1 more of those for the bottom of your heart. And then let's make the top of the heart. So this is what we're looking for here for the top of the heart. So we're just going to take those same 2.5 inch squares that we used to make our X block, and we're going to add them to the top of this 5 inch square. Let me see here, decide which one I want. Let's go with these 2. And you can see they're not actually going to overlap. They're going to fit on here exactly, which when we sew this together, you might worry about losing this point, but it actually kind of helps round out the top of that heart. And so that's exactly how you want it to look. So now we're going to sew from this point to the center, and then from the center to this point to create our peak. So I'm going to do that. And now I can pivot and go down the other way. There we go. Now let's trim that off. And press those back. There we go. All right, and then you're going to make 2 of those, just like you needed 2 of your half square triangles, and then we can lay this out. Oops, I used the same fabrics and I didn't even know it. You know what? That's all right. Doesn't bother me. And then we're going to put it just like that, and we can sew it together just like we did our X block. So we'll put these 2 together, and then we'll take this to the machine. right, we've got those two sewn together, so now we can open these up. You can press them before if you want, or you can just make your seams go where you want them and line it up nicely. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, now our heart block is complete. You can see how quick and easy this project is. And just like the X blocks, you're going to need 2 of the hearts as well. So let's go up here to my cutting mat and I'll show you how I did the sashing and the border of this project, because all of the pieces came from the charm pack. So let's talk about that. So let's lay this out. And so we started with the heart in the top corner, and then an X, and then just the opposite. And then in between here, you're going to want some cornerstones and some sashing pieces. And so I went ahead and used, I had 1 red square. Where did it go? Had a couple red squares left. And so I used the red in the outside corners and the center. So let me go ahead and cut this into 2.5-inch squares. Just like so. And then we can sit these in place. So I'm going to have 1 in each of these corners. And down here. And then I'm actually going to use black for these other points. So I have this cute black word print. We'll cut it down as well. And obviously you could use whatever fabric you like, but this is what I chose to do. And so then the black prints are going to go in between all of the red, just like that. And then for all of these pieces here in between, those come from our leftover white 5-inch squares, excuse me, and we're just going to cut those in half so that we have a 2.5 by 5-inch strip. And you can just mix it up. I wanted this to look really scrappy, so I'm just going to cut some from this stack. Then once you've cut all of these into your 2.5 by 5-inch rectangles, we can just mix them all up. I wanted it to look really scrappy, and we can just set them in place here. When we start taking these seams, the measurement is going to be identical to the blocks we made because they all started at 5 inches. So it will sash beautifully. So we can just keep adding these in. Obviously, I would use a larger variety of these prints, but it just comes together so nice. Let's look at the finished project over here on the wall. So you can see what I mean about all these scrappy backgrounds coming together so nicely, and our little cornerstones in the corner. It's a great little table topper. It measures 25 inches square, and it's going to be perfect for our fun little Valentine's breakfast. You also might have noticed this little heart banner that's hanging behind me, and I thought I would give you all a chance to be a little brave and show you how I made that. So I just cut that out of normal construction paper. So here's some red construction paper, and here's my hearts that I cut out. And you actually can sew paper. So let me show you how easy this is. The biggest trick is you want to make sure that you have quite a bit of thread to get you started, because that is what's going to be the rope of your garland. It's the thread from your machine. So I'm going to fish my bobbin thread out of here as well so that I have 2 strands of thickness. If I had been thinking, I wouldn't have used my thread cutter last time, but I did. So we're just going to grab hold of that. There we go. And I'm going to pull out a nice length of both my top and bobbin thread. So I've got that here. And then I'm just gonna take my paper hearts that I trust you can manage to cut out all on your own. And I've got 3 different colors here. And so I am just gonna put these under the needle. And I'm just gonna sew straight across. And then I'm gonna add the next one. And the next one. And I know some people worry about sewing through paper, but we sew through so many things when we're making quilts or any type of fabric projects. You've got multiple layers of fabric, batting, you might have a fusible adhesive in there. So I just don't believe that paper is going to be any harder on our needle or our machine than any of the other things we choose to sew. And if you're worried about it, you could save maybe an old needle that's gotten too dull for fabric and use that for paper crafts. So we'll just keep feeding them through one after the other, and you'll see how quickly you get a really nice chain. Look at this. It's not just the cutest little thing. And it's so quick and easy. And then you can just hang it up in your kitchen or your living room to help your house feel festive for the holidays. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to check out the easy recipe for our stuffed French toast that we like to have on our Valentine's breakfast in the description below, and I will see you next time.